Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Patrick Gunnels, Benter, Will Brax, Melby Styles, Troy Shuker, Bosnail, Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Maris, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Dal West Watson, Mike, Dick Earth Skeptic, NA Literalist, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I'll hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
I'm coming down. I took my wife to the doctor on the way back. I wanted to stop at a diner, so I made a left instead of a right. So I make the left, and then I bang the Yui right away back to the light. And I'm looking in my rearview mirror. I see this like SUV doing the same thing, and I'm like, "Oh, is this a freaking cop?" So the light turns green. I go through it. Sure enough, the lights go on. He pulls me over. So he comes over. He says, "You know why I'm pulling you over?" I said, "Yeah, I pulled the Yui over there. I was supposed to make a right, but I made a left." He says, "No, you were on your cell phone." I was like, "What?" So he goes, "I don't mind the U-turns. Just next time, do it a little down further." I give him my license, so I figured a lot of times I like to check to make sure they got no warrants, no outstanding tickets, and they usually come back and they give you a license. This guy comes back with a freaking ticket for me for being on a cell phone when I wasn't on a cell phone. First of all, I got a hands-free device. So I'm like, I was not on the cell phone. So we start getting back and forth into it. So now I'm pissed. My balls are twisted. I'm respectful to the point when you give me a ticket, then I got no use for you. Now it's just give me my ticket and let me go. Well, I have to tell you all of this. You don't got to tell me nothing. Just give me my ticket, give me my license, and let me get the frick out of here. So he goes, "You know what? Now I'm going to write you some more tickets." I said, "Go ahead, write them." And he did. He wrote me like freaking 2 more tickets. So now I got to go to court.
Right.
But I'm gonna beat them all because I'm taking them all to trial. I'm not copping out to nothing. Not parking on pavement. Nothing.
How much?
Trial. That's it.
Yeah. How much?
Don't know. You don't know until you go there and you negotiate. These small towns, this is how they make their living. He was there for one reason and one reason only, to spot people on their cell phone. Now, I don't know if at that time I was moving it from, but I don't think so because it's right on, right on the air conditioner thing, the vent. I got a hook on this on that, and your show is on. So when I want to talk, I just reach and I hit the button. It's never in my hand, you know. So like, I'm gonna take them all to trial. I'm gonna beat them.
Okay. Good for you. Very good.
I hope. But I should have just shut up.
Yeah, you should have done.
I can't, because they're trying to hurt me financially. Most of the time you go to court, they're gonna win. I've beaten a few of them. But you stand, you take, you swear to tell the truth, but they're gonna believe him over me. I'm hoping that the fact that my car is a total hands-free device, cell phone's been out for how long? How many tickets have I got with a cell phone? Oh, none. You know why? Because I'm never on it. So we'll see how I could argue it there. Anyway, as the world spins.
It doesn't spin.
Oh, no. Contraire. I heard it spins.
I heard it spins too. It doesn't though.
It only spun because you made a U-turn in the roundabout.
Right, let's sort you, as we've got a fairly clear panel. 10th. What are you on your Yeti? What's going on?
That wasn't me. That wasn't me.
Harp, no need. Don't blow your nose.
Oh, go on, you.
Anyway, 10th.
He was up.
It's not interrupted something like important in discussion. We're just going to talk technical. So Yeti, I don't know if I made this clear yesterday. You're going to talk to the red light. Do you understand what I mean by that?
It's in front of me. It's just further back. It's pointing up like you said. So let me bring it just where I had it before. How's it now?
Yeah, you need to be about a foot or less from it.
Okay, that was it then.
That's better. And then how on the back of it, if you can look on the back of it, there's 4 different modes. Yeah? And you want the one that looks a bit like a heart or a bum. Fanny.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one at the far right.
No, it's not the far right.
Second from far right.
I think it is the second. I can't be bothered to stand up and look at the
Okay, I
back of
just switched it there.
Okay.
Check
It looks
one,
like
two.
looks like a heart / fanny.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
see it now.
Okay. What number gain are you at? Just say check 1 2 1 2.
Check 1 2 1 2.
How far
I
away?
just turned it all the way down. It was up maybe a little bit.
Yeah, turn it up a bit.
Check 1 2, 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 check
Louder.
1 2.
You need more gain, or you need to get closer, one or the other. How many inches are you away?
Check 1 2, check 1 2.
How many inches away are you?
12 inches.
Can you get any closer?
Yeah, I can get closer. It's just my back's going to be in a leaning position to the desk
No.
now.
Not if it's uncomfortable. You can't bring it closer to you, closer to the edge of the desk.
Let me see. Yeah, how about now? Is this better?
That's much better. And then where's your gain setting? It needs to go up just a smidge on the back, the gain.
All right. Hold on. Okay, this is at the middle point. Gain's at the middle point of the dial.
12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Set it to 12:30 or 1 o'clock.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
Good enough.
Okay. Just get closer is best.
As long as you're talking into the front of it, talk to the word blue.
Gotcha. Yeah, it was pushed back. I forgot to. It was good the other day, right?
Yeah, it was okay.
It does sound different, though, if I got to say. Just now you were sounding really clear and good. Other times it sounds like you're like in a room.
I am in the room.
I mean, like an empty room, like when I'm working and there's echoing.
Yeah, that's any room. It's just what we can hear is you rustling the desk or anything.
Well, I'm moving it closer so I don't have to touch it when the show's on.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right. How about now? It's right in front of me.
That's perfect. You sound crystal clear.
Got it. All right.
And it's
The
cut out
gain,
a lot.
everything's good, right?
Yeah, well,
There's
it's cut
the
out,
old tent.
cut out a lot of the room noise just by having it closer. So it's a condenser mic, so it's going to adjust itself to you. And then because you're closer, it's going to have less ambient noise. Anyway, I watched a review recently where they were reviewing all sorts of different mics that are good for a podcaster. And the Blue Yeti was on there as one of the guys' least favourite in that price range. And the reason was because it's so easy to get it wrong. It's got 4 different polar patterns. You were on the wrong polar pattern. Initially, you were talking into the wrong part of it on the wrong polar pattern. So it sounded awful. No offence, you don't know what you don't know. I didn't either. When I first got mine, I was talking in the top of it, and Anthony was like, front address mic, and I was like, get lost. Yeah, don't care. Leave me alone. But yeah.
Well, isn't that why they have all these adjustments so you could customize it?
Well, no, they've got specific purpose. You know, you want it on cardioid. You just want it to reject as much as possible of the room and just accept whatever's coming directly into the front of it. That's what polar pattern you want. Now, don't get me wrong, there might be instances where you want it to be omnidirectional or stereo if you've got an interview situation, something like that. I've got to be honest, I've never used any of the other polar patterns, with one exception when Anthony came over the other day. And I set it up correctly. He was on one side of the mic, I was on the other. I was talking to it correctly, set in stereo. Just didn't sound very good. So I'm like, well, it didn't sound as good as if I'd have just angled it. You know, we both talked at it at a 45-degree angle in cardio. It'd probably sounded better. But there we go. That's just one of those things. I think maybe people can make use of those extra polar patterns, and more often than not, having them means you get it wrong, and more often than not, people talking to the wrong part of it.
So this guy who wrote the review, was his only beef too many things, so it's hard?
Just open to getting it wrong. A lot of people with Blue Yeti sound god awful because they've just set it up incorrectly. So it means that regardless of its quality, you can more often than not hear a Blue Yeti user getting it wrong and it sounding awful.
What was his favorite one if the Blue Yeti wasn't?
The one he was being paid for, probably.
Oh,
I don't think so. It's Pod Stage, or Podcast Stage, I think the guy's name is. No, I don't think so. He's just a mic-obsessed guy. You know, I can totally relate. So, I'm not obsessed with mics specifically, but I can obsess about a number of other things that I could list that are like him in that regard. He's just made a YouTube show out of it.
But doesn't a lot of this come to preference too?
It doesn't. I mean, mics have got a particular frequency response, and some of them can sound a bit more dull, dark, as he phrases it. Others can sound a bit more
but to
bright.
his ear, right? But to his ear, based on technical equipment that can tell him what each setting does and how it registers on some kind of machine, and then he's got to say, "Well, I don't like the way this sounds, so I like this one."
Well, yes and no. Audio fidelity has been quantifiable and mathematically measurable for about the last 100 years. And people are really good at it now. So you can give a mic's frequency response, you can give its total harmonic distortion figures, its noise floor figures, you can give all of that stuff and give a pretty good assessment of what its fidelity would be like.
Can you segue with what you just said to the ballers who can't give us the measurement for the geometric horizon?
How
How can we know the mic, but we don't know?
Well, yeah, it's measurements, isn't it? It's nothing. Sometimes we give off the impression that we've got something against maths, and we haven't. You know, mathsing things that aren't real, that we've got a problem with. And in the case of the Ball Earth, mathsing things that isn't real is the case. You know, me telling you the frequency response of my Emperor's new microphone, you know, would be the only way I could compare it. But
well, how about it can be no further than 1.22 miles? What's that based on?
An apparition, something that isn't real, a reification, a mathematical fallacy, something that doesn't exist.
Well, yes, but if it was real, it can be no further than 1.22 miles. What is the 1.22 miles based on? It's the 3959 and geometry that they claim.
Yeah,
so is their claim to geometry just a mistake, or is it a thought experiment to begin with? It's never there to be measured.
The bridge from mathematical reification into reality, or it was before the Black Swan. So prior to the Black Swan, marked with an X labelled horizon in their geometry with a tangent point drawn to it to assert Earth curve edge horizons get in the way of things in the distance, now replaced with, we don't have Earth curve. Well, that's because they require the geometry and formally asserted that the geometry was your limitation of view at the horizon. Now it isn't. Well, that's the claim in the first instance. The claim is the horizon's Earth curve. There it is getting in the way of stuff. It's got this limitation. You'll see it at these distances. Well, it isn't. Now they tell us it isn't because we've debunked it. Well, that's the end of the road as far as I'm concerned. You can't have it both ways. You can't both have Earth based on the fact that you see a geometric limitation to your view, and here it is in the maths, versus here it is in the maths. You don't see it, but I'm going to decide that your limitation of view is going to be based around it, whatever your limitations or lack thereof are. That's just a reification fallacy.
Well, it would seem to me that if the Earth was curved, we'd all know it, especially with the limitations put on by the Black Swan argument at the different observer heights.
Yeah, if we're on a sphere, it'd be obviously and observably spherical. And there would be a geometric limitation to view because they're claiming there's a hump between you and what you see in the distance. A physical sphere hump curving away at you, 8 inches per mile squared. That's what they claim. Well, like a hill, if you happen to just have a hill that curved away in a perfect, what would it be, parabola or whatever the squaring function gives you, you know, the not quite sphere shape that maths gives you. I mean, it works up to about 1,000 miles. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty. It's not really relevant. The point is that when you work out that mathematical value, you've got the Earth falling away in the same rate that a hill could fall away at 8 inches per mile squared. Well, if you were behind that hill that fell away from the top and you got behind it, it would physically, geometrically, measurably be in the way. And that would just be the limitation to your view, the hill that got in your way. Well, that's what they claim Earth curve is, a hill getting in the way. But you can't see it, it's not there, it only exists in the maths, and the horizon that moves with the bloody weather is going to be mathematically based on it, and hopefully sometimes it'll match up. It's pure nonsense and fantasy, the idea that we've got a sphere edge for a horizon. We haven't, we're told we haven't, but it is definitely the basis of their religion that they're on a sphere.
But it's a model, right? Because I'm thinking about it as you're saying it, and there's no way that Earth does that. But they are just talking about the model that's supposed to do that, correct?
No, it's a transposition from model to reality with the word horizon. Their argument, Neil, starts at the horizon. Well, if you want to rephrase that into their reification of a ball Earth belief starts with the horizon, then that's the way that they take their maths into reality. We've said it many times, but that's where John, who's on the panel now, transitioned from globe to flat. Because if you haven't got something to measure, you can't assert you've got measurements. You can't. I don't know how much more we can dumb it down. You know, to be on a ball, you've got to be able to measure being on a ball. They claim they can measure being on a ball, but yet they've now got something that's an apparition rather than a tangent point. So that's the end of their geometric claim. That's it. It's game over.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's not in reality. So I don't understand what's keeping people. Like, it don't work.
I think I know. They're not thinking about it. I talked to someone at 24/7, and he said refraction, and everybody was wanting to argue with him about refraction, and I was like, no, that's fine. Let him say refraction. I said, now let's go back to the measurement. And he's like, well, I've already addressed that. I don't want to talk about it anymore. So it's like they're not thinking about it.
That's where the problem could be solved with the measurement.
No, we measure it flat. That's their problem.
You're correct, and it'll solve their problem. That's why they don't want to look at it, I guess. But I mean, come on.
I think this is something potentially we could discuss on the live show, because like with the video that I'm going to release tonight, yesterday, if you're not a member, if you're watching this, after 18 renditions of the same response that debunked the guy's claim, every single time listening back to it, although I didn't heavily edit it, I edited out some swears. It was being, how did I phrase it at the time? It fell on deaf ears. So there are moments where the guy pauses, he's heard my response, and there's like a switch that flicks. It gets disregarded out of hand, and then he moves on with his point that he's been trying to move on, and he's just objecting that he's not being allowed to. And the reason he isn't being allowed to is because he isn't responding to the initial response that's debunked what he's claimed. He just wants to plough through. Now, that's a problem. You're saying, John, well, they don't hear it, they don't get it. Well, having had it paraphrased to them, obviously the same thing is applying and has applied for the last 18 months. Neil's saying, well, why don't they get it and then convert, basically? Why don't they realise it's untenable now? You can't have a sphere Earth belief without a sphere Earth horizon. That's what the claim is based on. Well, yeah, so how do you get around it? Or how, in discussion, do you get to the point where you say, what you are now doing is literally ignoring me? You know, there's, like with that guy, there's a short pause and then what's been said in response is ignored. How'd you get around that?
Let me ask you a question, Nathan. What do you think? What's his name? Not Sam Rye, the other guy that comes in, the guy you're talking about. What do you think he was going to say in that next 10 seconds? I know you know.
I don't know. It doesn't make any difference because once the claim that has been made is invalid, and my position is to get across to an audience that with this word science, you can grease the skids of a story that isn't true. And here was the perfect example. That's why I let it drag out as long as it did. He's saying, here's a just so story. We go, okay, that's a just so story laced with fallacy. Here are the fallacies. Here's how your story used that fallacy. And he goes, no, science. Now, at that point, I lost my rag and get very cross. And I'm like, what an outrage. You get proven to have just so stories based on presupposition, and then you get the reply, it's science. Then you're into demonstrating why it's not science. That's where you get your 18 renditions of what you're claiming, because you've got a bald belief attached to the end of it, isn't science. Now, he just wants to carry on and justify the begging the question fallacy he's calling science. Yeah? And there's just no way I'm going to let that 10 seconds of whatever he's going to say. I mean, we got to the point where I think he was saying the constants are causing the variable. And the final question he got before he rage quit was, what is a constant variable? Meaning something that can be varied but is kept constant so it doesn't affect the outcome of the test. In other words, to claim, as he did in his final rebuttal before rage quitting, that his constants are affecting the variable. In other words, I'm going to use that part of the scientific method to claim Earth is a constant. It's like, well, then it's not part of your validation process. It's not the effect you're trying to induce or the thing you're varying to induce it. It's something that's being kept constant to not affect anything. But he's obviously claiming it as a causal relationship with the very thing he's trying to massage into science. Well, I wasn't going to let him. I didn't care if it took 18 attempts. And we found out why. You know, about rendition 10, he said, but it is science. In other words, he still wants to believe that because someone else has told him with this magic trick, here's an explanation of how we get a radius value. They've told him with a load of presuppositions laced in. He's not recognised them. He's parroted them back to me because it made sense to him. He told me that he's going around the circuit putting it out to others. He has all the presuppositions pointed out to him, all of which is my point here, fell on deaf ears. So you're like, okay, every time you receive anything that counters your current standpoint, your current position, it's ignored. And then either the claim that's made in the first instance that's been defeated, challenged, debunked, refuted, and ignored, is then moved past by way of a repetition of the original claim, ignoring the devastating point. That's what the guy kept doing. Now, occasionally along that path, he's going to concede certain points that make it clear to anybody with a reasonable amount of cognitive processing, you're in the wrong. In his case, he's in the wrong. You know, can you vary this variable? No, you can't. Well, it's not science then. Short pause. But I can show you how it's a constant variable, or something to that effect. Whatever, it doesn't matter at that point. You know, he's just not conceding that he's using that magic trick. Just so story, presupposition, called, in his words, science. It's not. It's an outrage. That's how we've all been deceived.
You were like that guy in the audience at a magic show that's pointing out to how the magician does his trick. He's trying to keep doing his show going, even though it's like got to be humiliating at that point.
Yeah, but he doesn't think he's doing magic. That's the part that troubles me.
Yeah, he's fell for the trick. So when someone used their magic trick on him and told him the explanation with the presuppositions in place, because he doesn't realise he's holding presuppositions as a religious fundamentalist viewpoint, he thinks that's just the way it is. So when he hears the presuppositions, nothing goes click. Oh, that's assuming the very thing that's supposed to be proven in this example here. That doesn't happen. He's just like, yeah, of course, yeah, because we turn at 15 degrees an hour, yeah. That's what he's done. In other words, fell for it, and then he's trying to pitch it to me. You're like, no. It just shows your competency level when it comes to something that has been asserted to you. And presumably he's been told it's science, and he has fell for that magic trick. When it comes to somebody actually saying, well, okay, if this is science, how is it science? Well, it isn't. It doesn't have a variable that's capable of being varied to prove it as the cause. You're saying Earth turn causes these things, sunsets. Well, okay, if that's the case, that's your cause. To be science, you need to vary and manipulate that cause to prove it does cause the effect. And you can't, therefore not science. 18 renditions later, if I get 10 more seconds, I'll just be able to explain how I get around this problem of it not being science. You know, that's how it goes on. Because he still wants to believe it's science. Because it can't possibly be the case that a flat earther, with the contrasting view to his own, could prove him wrong. No, he's been told it's science, so it is. I was told. No, it isn't. Sorry.
Yeah, I thought he was going to calculate. I thought he was going to go to calculations with the sun and prove that, and that's what he considered varying and manipulating the Earth through calculations.
He tried to, but he couldn't get that geometry. He was having trouble with that.
Hey, Nathan, can you go to Masturbate? I got 4 pictures of sea level photography.
And but we're starting in 60 seconds. Did you want to do it on the live
Be
show?
quick. Oh, no, be quick. Well, it's up to you.
Okay, go.
All right. So first one you see is fogged in. So you're going to say, oh, there's the horizon because I can't see anymore. The second one, there is no fog and it's still level, sea level. The third one, same thing, very close to the shore. If the Earth was a ball, we'd see a curve. And the last one is through a wave. And you could see the rest of the ocean until the wave reaches there is level. Water finds its level. That's why it's sea level. And that's why the Earth is flat.
Do you want the other 3?
Oh, I was just commenting on all of them. I thought you were keeping up.
No, I said I've got 60 seconds before I'm going to start a live show. I'll put them all on screen one after the other now, though, so the audience can actually see them in the pre-show when this goes out. Good
No
stuff.
problem.
Thank you very much, 10th.
All right.
My bad for babbling on about people not conceding.
That's what the problem is. So it's not babbling on.
No,
Pushing forward.
no, that was a good segment there that he did because they want to own the word science, but when it comes to taking us through the process, they can't even keep up with the proper way. Let's
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Adam, father of a stolen child, Neil, 10th man, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Morning, morning.
Afternoon.
Hey, good morning.
Hello.
Hello. Very enthusiastic bunch for a Friday. Excellent stuff. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Formerly known. It was never known. It was never there. It's a thought experiment.
Not what I was
think you'll
told.
find it was never claimed to be. There.
That's not true. Now that enough suckers have come along to tell us nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve, and we don't need tangents to do geometry, I can just say, I've got hundreds of hours of people drawing tangents to horizons and doing the geometry and claiming that it's Earth curve. No, suckers. It's just nice that I can now transpose those two next to each other. You idiots drawing tangents, with you idiots saying the horizon's not Earth curve. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you very much.
Well, when you have to reinterpret your position 20 different ways within a 5-minute debate, you know their foundation is gone.
Exactly. If you've got to basically decry your own claim in the first instance and say nobody's claiming the horizon is Earth curve, then you know you've lost. And you're just riddled in cognitive dissonance at that point because presumably you're still defending a dying position. Nevertheless, any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Owen.
Oh,
Hey, Dave as well.
It's me, not from Nottingham.
Haven't seen Dave Rackier live for a long time, although I have been listening to his antics on various other platforms. Good to have you. Yeah, it's good to be
David
here.
here?
Jolly good. Axial rotation, anybody at all?
I'm on the case for him. I'm still trying to tie in why we don't see it with why we claim it, or
Go
why
on,
they
Ryan.
claim it.
Well, they
it's
have it
not
in their
by
mind.
any-
Go on, Ryan.
I was just saying it's not there by any means, man. It ain't gonna ever be there. Earth is flat.
And stationary, definitely not turning.
And stationary. You got it.
You're never going to get there, by the way, other John. You're not going to tie a claim of no drift to the assertion that Earth's proven to spin with drift. It's just paradoxically never going to happen.
I just want to try to use the black swan against it.
You're going to have to settle for using it for the nonsensical, we wouldn't expect to see drift because of conservation of angular momentum. You're just going to have to accept that you can use the black swan at this stage to debunk their nonsensical rebuttal. But
Well, conservation of angular momentum doesn't apply to gases at all.
I mean, it's difficult enough to get them to tie to the claim that we have a non-inertial spinning reference frame turning beneath an inertial reference frame to give us drift. That would be Coriolis effect on an Earth that's claimed to be turning with that drift that's claimed to prove it's turning. It's hard enough to get them to tie to that claim in the first instance to maybe segue into, I don't know, the non-inertial turning reference frame that we're a part of as we observe things drift has a 15 degrees an hour deviation with an R value that you could measure in terms of its spin rotation value that's claimed. At, what is it, 24,000? You know, you can assert these things, but you can't even get them to tie to their own claim with Coriolis because it's so nonsensical because you don't see it happen. There's no natural observed drift, so they won't even get them to tie to that claim. You know, Neil deGrasse Tyson will claim it.
So, Arwen, when you said conservation momentum doesn't apply to gas, can you expand on that, please, a little further?
Oh, boom, boom.
All right. Yeah. Oh, that was a pun. It was a good question also. Nice. Yeah, gases only change basically where they are due to local pressure dynamics. So if there's a local pressure, then it's going to basically displace itself based on that local pressure situation. And that's the only thing that actually makes gas move, is just the pressure differential locally. Things that don't move it are momentum. It, like liquids and solids that actually get caught up in momentum, right? You throw them, whatever, they keep moving. They retain the motion, conservation of momentum. Well, gas doesn't do that. It only responds to the local pressure dynamics. So it can never move in rotation at a constant rate with
Just
anything.
ask Arwin a quick
Always-
question. Has Arwin been watching Dr. John Dee's most recent series? If not, I'll plug it because it's perfect. Here. Have you been watching that, Arwin?
Not recently.
Well, it came out about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
I could have watched it. I don't remember a lot of things.
Well, I'll
that
just refer
happened.
to it. So check out Dr. John Dee's presentations when he's talking about mass and energy and work being done, disequilibrium in systems, things of that nature. It's got a 4-part series on it. It's excellent. Very, very, what's the word? Thought-provoking.
Cool.
Then why does it stop at Mount Everest?
Doesn't.
That's what I was told. It stops
doesn't
at Mount
stop.
Everest.
What do you mean stop
What?
at Mount Everest? It doesn't stop at Mount Everest. It's,
There's no oxygen that goes further than Mount Everest. It just stops there.
oxygen's part of the gas anywhere. That it doesn't suddenly separate out into different mixture. You know, it's all mixed up. It's an anisotropic, inhomogeneous mixture of gases. Now, the quantities become less as you go higher, as it's dispersed, exactly as you would expect. But it's not going to reach equilibrium for it to all be a unified pressure. It's a dynamic system. However, all of these discussions that would require containment in the first instance. Hence the question, any examples of gas pressure without a container?
Second law of
We-
dynamics doesn't apply to the Earth.
We've been waiting for that one for a while. I remember back in the day, QE used to say, okay, where's gravity the strongest? And they'll say on the Earth, near the surface, where it's being produced. Oh, okay. Well, if we can't keep it down here, how do you think it's keeping it up there? So it's like, come on, guys, show us gas pressure without a container, and then that's a new starting point. But until then, it's over.
And beyond your fundamentalist religious assertion that the sky is a vacuum. So going outside and saying, look, we've got gas pressure, therefore the sky is a vacuum. That's called a begging the question fallacy.
Indeed,
How do
and
we
if
know,
I
how do we know it's not different up there?
if I may input something on top of that, if ballers have some kind of question like why doesn't the gas just uniformly spread around and all that, right? Originally, I thought, oh, maybe relative density causes it to layer it out a little. It's very unlikely, though. What is more likely is it can be demonstrated on the small scale. If you have a container, you have a cooling element on one side of the container and a heating element on the other side of the container, a gradient, even within a smaller container, will start to form because of the temperature influences. So gradients can definitely be formed in containers, even on the small scale. And since we know there is heat at the surface here and not up there's nothing really to absorb it, then yeah, we could see that there is a temperature influence, which would the most likely be the cause of the gradient within the realm.
Any evidence?
I don't
of
know.
distance
Things could be
to the
different
sun?
up there because you got a rocket that's going to crash soon. I just seen it on the news.
No, the sky is not a vacuum. If the sky was a vacuum, it would be a space. How ironic that they call it space. For the gas we breathe to fill. And we'd all be dead.
Nathan,
Well-
did you see the size of this rocket? It
Don't
could
worry
come
about-
down right
But
in
it's
your
massive,
backyard.
Nathan. It's massive.
Don't
Hold
worry
on.
about. Go on, John.
But say NASA is recreating the Armageddon movie and claiming it's in real life. I don't know if anybody's keeping up with that.
That's
But,
how they do it.
they have
It's called predictive programming. Have you never heard of predictive
Are they
programming?
going to send Bruce Willis?
Hold on.
That would be awesome.
If I say the term,
And
hold on.
Of what?
Hold on. If I say the term predictive programming, does that hold any meaning for anyone on the panel?
Yeah.
Yep.
Inserting
then.
information in a time when the subject is very unlikely to have a conscious understanding of it, so that they would still, in their subconscious, have that information for later purposes.
Yeah. If you're unfamiliar
Well
as an
put.
audience member, type in subliminal messaging or predictive programming into YouTube. for more information. There you go. Distance to the
Well,
sun.
let's get back to the point.
Right,
If
go
you
on.
have a vacuum of space, as they say, and no barrier between that and gases, we all know already what happens. It fills the available space. They got to show the opposite, the contra. They can't do it.
Not without begging the question and appealing to their fundamentalist religious belief that we have gas pressure and the sky as a vacuum, which is predominantly the claim in the first instance, hence me pointing out as begging the question fallacy. But by contrast, we could actually do the exact same thing and claim that we have containment. Now, I don't do that intentionally, but I don't decry anybody who does. Go outside, we've got gas pressure. Well, the necessary antecedent would be a container then. So there's no unreasonable nature in terms of making that assumption and logical inference. I just force my opponent to make it. It's like, oh, I make that claim. I've said the sky is not a vacuum because it's a space for gas to fill. It's the Ving gas law. So that's the volume. Well, that's how much space the gas has got to fill. So we can calculate the entropy increase. Well, that's because it's a law of nature. Gas would fill space. So gas would fill space. So space is fake. We'd all be dead.
Isn't that the point of debate? When one side gets to say what they want, the other side comes with a rebuttal and back and forth, and you can see right away who's being unreasonable.
It just means I don't have to make the positive claim so they get to burn a straw man. And so prove your container. So, well, the positive assertion in that claim, if somebody has made that claim, is kind of irrelevant because that's one man's assertion versus the entire Western world that are under the misapprehension the sky is a vacuum. And that is the extraordinary claim, the positive claim in the first instance. However, the moment somebody says, well, antecedent-consequent relationship, therefore a container, they'll just hold you to that indefinitely rather than deal with the awkward detail about the sky vacuum not being real. Because it's far easier to debunk one man than it is to defend the Western worldview that stands in violation of the second law of thermodynamics and gas law.
Is this why in chat, when you post a remark to one of your shows, you get inundated with people saying, show us the flat earth model, show us your model. You ain't got a model. Until you have a model, it's not real. Is this tied into all that?
Well, it's a false dichotomy fallacy and strawman fallacy. So they want to burn your contrary opinion to their positive claim rather than defend their positive claim in the first instance. So rather than, because the majority of the Western world just accept that they're on a sphere, to them it seems reasonable. Not realising the fallacy, they'll say, oh yeah, well, obviously we're on a sphere, it's therefore up to you to disprove that extraordinary claim. And you're like, really? Well, okay, I'll disprove it then. No. Actually, I've changed my mind. It's not up to you to disprove our claim. It's up to you to defend a claim you haven't made about a model you don't create, but you've been given on your journey through flat Earth now, haven't you? You've been given this azimuthal equidistant globe projection that's flat. Now defend that as your bloody model so I can debunk it and show how my globe projection is better than your globe projection, because then the deck's definitely stacked in my favour as we have this discussion.
Yeah, but when you're discussing this, hold on a second. All right. When you're discussing this, it's nice because you go back and forth, and one side could say, I don't know what the sky is, but I do know to have pressure, you got to have containment, and that cannot be overcome because that's what we do know.
Yeah, the sky is not a vacuum. If it was, we'd all be dead. The gas we breathe would fill the space.
Worse than that, though, you got this guy, Ed Freeze. He thinks he's got you over a barrel. Now, I can listen to the whole thing and just hear him getting torn apart. But in his mind, he's got you over a barrel and you're losing.
No,
That's why he rage quit.
ballers can't use barrels. That's a container.
He rage quit. He rage quit. What are you talking about?
Delusion.
When Nathan identified what he was doing, he rage quit.
Yeah, and he still claims victory, though.
Of course, they're delusional.
Irrelevant.
You know,
Just on something irrelevant, Owen, Chocolate mentioned Armageddon there. And I just thought I'd see if they are faking it. But What I did stumble across was this statement. Quite funny. NASA often shows the movie Armageddon as part of its management training program and asks its new staff to find as many scientific inaccuracies as they can. In brackets, there are at least 168. But there's more.
Really? Holy shit.
Told you.
That's funny. I thought
Well,
the
yeah.
whole movie was inaccurate.
When we look at the NASA material, we find 1,168.
Oh, I just have one that debunks every claim they've made ever, which is that the sky is not a vacuum because it stands in violation of the second law of thermodynamics. So every single claim ever made or assertion made from that area, in that instance, the majority of the movie Armageddon takes place in an area that doesn't exist. A second law of thermodynamics violation, sky vacuum, where they're travelling to get to a rock in the sky vacuum. Yeah, that's all fake. The entirety of it is fake.
Yeah, but Chocolate has stories he's told us where he shows the Tesla car in the violation of outer space. And people are saying, nah, that's a joke. No one's doing that. So when you reverse this, instead of asking NASA to spot errors and just ask the public, they do the same thing with NASA footage.
I don't know. I could get there. We could get there.
Part of that.
If there's a firmament, we could get there. Can't get there what they claim it is because space is fake with their claim. But my claim, it's inside the firmament. So why couldn't we go there?
They want whoever's partaking in that sort of questionnaire to come up with answers that work within the begging the question fallacy. So, for example, they would want them to answer along the lines of, when detailing how to resolve this problem, one of them comes up with a mylar sail and says it will catch cosmic winds. Well, obviously they're in a vacuum and that wouldn't work because... and then give an explanation within an Einsteinian paradigm. And that would be an acceptable answer. An unacceptable answer would be to say, everything claimed in that movie that didn't take place on the ground, terra firma, was fake, because the gas breathed in the parts where they were on the ground, terra firma, wouldn't be there if they could just travel out into an area that was of a lower pressure, because every bit of gas that we are breathing would fill that space. Therefore, everything claimed in the movie is wrong, beyond anything claimed on the ground.
If they can drag you into their imagination, then they've already won half the battle. If they can get you into a place that doesn't exist, then they're almost there.
The top answer sums it up for me, Nathan. It says, "Sir, about halfway through the movie, my pen died, so I made a mental list of the things that actually are accurate in the movie. Number 1, asteroids, rockets, and nuclear weapons are real things. Number 2, we as an organization are capable of launching teams of humans into space. Then number 3, Steven Tyler does not want to miss a thing. So I don't know what that one is, but you're right there. Yeah.
Because I miss you, baby." Yeah. Anyway.
And I don't want to miss a thing. Nobody answered my question.
What was your question, Neil?
Heliocentric model, yeah, you can't go there. But if there is a firmament and we are enclosed, the sun, the moon, and the stars are inside the firmament, why can't they go there? Could they be traveling there and just telling us something that it's not?
Sorry, what makes you think I'll allow...
How do we know that?
Hold on. Yeah, exactly. What makes you think I'd be any less or any more lenient with you, when you beg the question in 3 different instances?
I name one, because I said there's a firmament. The Bible says there's a firmament.
There's one.
That's one.
Okay, well, I'm a Bible believer, so the Bible says there is. And you can't have gas pressure out of container, so there's something containing us. But the sun, the moon, and the stars are claimed to be inside the firmament.
There's number 2.
So why can't we travel to them?
There's number 2.
Ooh.
Well, what are the stars other than luminaries? And what is the firmament exactly? Does it also say that? Does it give you the technical specs?
Whatever you do, Neil, when you travel there, please don't put your phone on the dash.
That was his third assumption. Travel there? What do you mean travel there? So their physical locations.
Oh, it's got to be somewhere. I'm looking at it.
What do you mean gotta be? Just because you've got a hat trick of
Jeez.
presuppositions. Don't Fundy mute me, Neil, just because you're getting told off for begging the question.
Do I see the sun? Does everybody see the sun in the moon?
Don't try and now take me through your logical inference steps. No way.
Okay, I see the
joking.
sun. I see the moon.
Oh, he's going to do it anyway.
I can get
Neil,
there.
Neil, you're going to start getting pegged as a Fundy. Don't have to like it.
But I'm not serious. What?
Yeah, I know you're serious. That's what.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Seriously triggered.
Fundamentalist.
Hold on. I think I can help with this one. Neil, I see a rainbow. Can I get to the pot of gold?
You get to the rainbow.
Yeah.
Well, the rainbow is it's optical, isn't it?
I see it. It's there. I can get to it. Let me explain my logical inference.
That's my own question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I
Give me
got
10
it.
more seconds, Neil, explaining how I can get to the rainbow. Give me 10 more seconds.
Yeah, but the rainbow is an optical. Wait, the sun is optical too. I don't know if it's.
Yeah, you're muttering quite a lot there, Neil. Yeah. Probably
Where's
best to
Brian
give up
when
at this
you need him?
stage. Well, we start asking
Can't
about the
have a
distance.
rainbow without the sun, Neil. Come on, keep it
Yep.
up.
Well,
Nice
the sun-
segue. Any evidence of the distance to the sun, as we've spent quite a long time on gas pressure without a container?
I give up.
Good. Don't beg the question here, Neil. You know,
Right.
you're going to
I
get
still
told
think
off.
we could get there.
It's just I knew I could hear it in the tone of your voice that you were itching to just go back into what is basically, I have to say it, but babbling fundamentalist chanting rhetoric. So, you know, you don't get to beg the question here, Neil, even if you're on my panel. Sorry. Not sorry.
But you're not listening to me. That's the problem.
You just need
Bomb,
10 more
stay
seconds, right?
outside.
I'm not
I'm
letting
not saying-
you get to the end where you explain your begging the question fallacy in detail and tell me how I should accept it.
I'm not saying the heliocentric model. Forget about that. I look up and I see the sun and the
Is
moon.
it a new religion? What are you going
Come
to
on,
call
mute
it?
him.
I know.
You can also
Neil,
get
we
a
heard.
question outside
Please,
of
can we
the
move on?
heliocentric
This is,
model, Neil.
you see, it's human nature. Yeah, chanting, doing what Neil's doing. It's not a baller trait. It's a human nature trait.
Fine.
Whoop.
You have to like it.
If you want to talk.
I will get there. I will get there somehow. Boys to men, I'll get there.
You don't understand.
Sorry, continue the show.
Well, I'm not talking about the heliocentric version of what's going on. I'm talking about what I see. I know
Okay.
you can't have gas pressure out of container.
Can you get to the horizon?
And
Can you get to the horizon?
Thank you. Let's move on.
Well,
Any
that's-
evidence
hold
at the
on.
distance?
That's-
Oh, God, we've got somebody shut him up. Neil, please. Please. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No, but I'm going to find out one day.
It's over there.
Neil, your car doesn't even go 20 miles without a problem. Good luck.
Actually, it's been good, except for the water coming in when it rains.
It's over there.
In a way, I'm pleased, Neil. You know, me getting the opportunity to tell someone on my own side off for begging the question is just useful to certain audience members that think that you get an easy ride if you're on the flat Earth side of the argument. No. Chat crap.
Can I
Expect
defend
pain.
Neil? A touch.
Go ahead.
Because Neil's forming his, as he states at the beginning, is a Christian, and I think we're mixing up belief of what we know as fundamentally true, and how Neil is then putting that into his belief of the world around him, and he's using scripture to fill in the gaps. There's no problem with that, but keep it as your belief, and understand the bits that scripture's filling the gaps in for, is all I'd say.
Yeah, there is a problem.
If you keep it as your belief, fine. I've got beliefs, you've got beliefs about what's up there, but
Sorry.
we don't make statements and validate them with scripture, because that's
I don't
unfortunately
know, Adam. No. I just got to correct that. Sorry. Hold on. No. So ask Arwin if that's acceptable, and no. Arwin knows full well that, if I just declare it as a belief, that'll get me off the hook. No.
No, people
Yeah,
are
but
just
we
going
do
to
have
chain you
gas
for that.
pressure
And
here.
no, look, the point is, it doesn't really matter whether you're a flat earther on this side or a baller on that side. Begging the question will inevitably lead to intellectual poverty. That's a
Put
rule
that.
of fist.
I
It
would
doesn't
put that
matter
in
where
chat
you're
too.
at.
I would type that out in chat too.
How am I begging a question?
Intellectual
Wait a
poverty. I
second.
like that.
How am I begging
Well,
a question?
Oh God, Neil's still chanting, asking how he's begging the question.
Neil,
How am I begging a
Neil,
question? I said
Let me
Neil,
tell
the
him.
problem,
Let me just tell him because
Neil,
he'll never shut up
the
otherwise.
first problem,
Let me just tell him.
first problem is when you said, "What if the sun and the moon are in the firmament?" Right? How do we know that?
I see your point. I got you.
Yeah.
If your claim is firmament, Neil, right? That's the thing that you want to be the thing that's real. And where you segued was from, well, we can't have gas pressure without a container. Yeah, that's a true enough statement. Therefore, my firmament. Whoa there, cowboy, what are you doing? And inside your firmament, you say, no.
Well,
No, but I did
can I
say it's
answer
scripture.
that, Neil?
I
Can I
did say
answer
it.
that, Neil?
Hold on, I
Can
did say it's scripture.
Hold on, Eli. Go ahead, Neil.
No, I'm just saying I did say it's scripture. I did say the Bible, according to the Bible, there is a firmament, and these things are inside the firmament. That's all I'm saying.
Right. What's the religion that's got the God that stretches over us as a roof? What's that religion?
Egyptian.
The Rakia?
Is it? I thought it was Rakia.
Christianity.
It's
I
the
thought it was
Egyptian.
Rakia. Rakia means roof, but nevertheless, there's a god that's stretched over that holds.
It's
or
no,
contain-
the Egyptian god.
Yeah, I think it's Egyptian. But my point is that me Egyptian god, therefore gas pressure without a container, therefore me Egyptian god container, Neil. Same principle.
I got you.
It works for the
Also,
it works for the Egyptians because mommy takes care of everything.
Oh, God.
also, okay, I got double plated glass. I'm standing on one side, you're standing on the other side. I flick on a flashlight. Boom, the circle of light is set in the glass.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So we can't even, but we don't know what the sun is, so we don't know either way. How do I even know what I mean, you know?
Well, I think that's what this is where a place when I even would say, look, we have scripture that tells us how the God of the Jews and Christians describes creation. Now, if you say this is a physics show and we need the scientific method for the things that are in nature, naturally occurring, to figure out a cause, this is why we're strong here on the show. And then you bring in, where is the sun? How does it work? I mean, none of us could go do any of those things and be valid on this show. So as a Christian myself, I'll say, well, I believe the scriptures account. Now, you may have a different opinion, but this is what I believe. Now, can I go prove that belief? Can I get into some kind of vehicle and travel to it? I mean, scratching the surface for dollars just to take a vacation these days, let alone put out on some expedition like that. So again, there's some things we're never going to know because we don't have the means to go and set the control variables and, manipulate something.
But Tim,
Hold on, wasn't there a time when
NASA
people
brought
thought
a
that
moon
way?
buggy there, bro.
Wasn't there a
yeah.
time when people thought about that with the sky as well?
Well, that's the point. That's the beauty of when Nathan says, when he realized it was a big lie, he became like a kid again. And now wonderment, like, I wonder what it is. I wonder how it works, right? And so for the Christians, that's solved. And for others, they're wondering.
No, I'm saying they thought they could never fly. We can fly, right? We can travel with a plane in the air. So all of a sudden
that's
we can't just go up another level?
That's technology. And so we can do a lot of things. There's cars that go 200 plus miles an hour now. The Ford Model T was
okay.
looking like a standing still.
Hold on, 10th, before we go off on this segue. So there is one point I definitely agree with you. We've got different branches or different arms of the argument, and it does make us stronger, like the strength offered by the many arms of Ganesh. And I agree with you on that point.
Shut up, Nathan.
Anyway, there's some things that we're still trying to figure out. And that's just the way it's going to be because we're the creation. We're not the creator.
Correct, but at one time the creation did not even think they could fly in the air. But
Fine.
they can.
Fine,
So
but what does that mean?
stop
That means
there?
so. What does that mean?
So why can't
means-
we get to the next level?
Well, it's quite
Okay, well
important.
maybe we can fly higher.
Neil doesn't know that. Neil does not know. What do you believe in evolution or something where humans were too stupid to figure these things out? Or do you think it's just what they evolved and, oh, now we know how to fly? How do you think it happened?
I think Neil's
No, I'm saying there had to be a time when people didn't think they could fly in the air like.
How do you know that?
But yeah, we are.
Just,
Well, no, you know
look, I
they're
think
not.
Neil's point is
We're-
much more simplistic than that. It's, look, they used to say it couldn't be done, they couldn't fly, and now, Allah be praised, we can.
Hold on. No, we're not flying. The plane is.
Correct. But you're
Right,
in the
but-
plane. So what's the difference? So you go a little
You're-
higher, a little higher, a
What's
little
the
higher,
difference?
and then you're on the moon playing golf.
Who's the guy that got swallowed by a whale? Did you get pedantic about him not swimming?
Jonah.
Jonah?
Who is riding in chariots of fire?
Jonah. That's
Anyway,
Jonah.
God. Right.
Elijah.
By the many arms of Ganesh, can we please change the subject? Right.
I have
Any
something on
scientific evidence of gravity?
Something funny happened
What is
on the
it?
way to the moon.
I don't mind discussing that. What's the guy's name? Bart Sibrel, or Bart Sibrel, depending on how you want to say it.
Yeah, but he recanted, didn't he?
His copyright struck me once. Bastard.
Yeah, he recanted a lot of the things he said, which I don't find him genuine.
Oh, yeah. Sounds familiar.
What do you mean he recanted? What did he recant?
Google it.
Google it.
That's epic, Neil. Thank you. So detailed. So
You
concise.
retracted statements, or
I've heard him say that he believes the Earth is a sphere, but I don't have him ever recanting what his main work was, which was the phony mission.
I'm gonna have to find it. It was on Jeranism, and there was a few things that I don't know if they put pressure on him or whatever, but he recanted a lot of things. He didn't actually say they didn't go to the moon.
Can't put pressure on the guy unless he's in the container, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Right.
Well, he probably seen that flat earthers were using some of the things he put out, and then he thought that he was being associated with us, so he recanted.
Yeah, it was. But for all the wrong reasons. Reasons that I think play into the heliocentric argument, in the respect that if you want to argue about whether or not you can leave low Earth orbit or whether or not rockets work in space, well, all of those arguments are under the presupposition that you've got a sky vacuum in violation of natural law. So it's quite useful to have those arguments. There's no reason why you shouldn't put out a bit of conspiracy, control the opposition narrative, and give, somebody who's reasonably well acquainted but not necessarily well known in the mainstream media, give him it. Let him go to town on it. Then you've got control over it.
The best way to control a rebellion is to lead it yourself.
Right. Don't let the rebellion get hold of, your entire area that you're claiming to operate in is fake. It's in violation of natural law. You can't have gas pressure not fill a volume. That's nonsense. Much better to say, put out a narrative that says they didn't leave the orbit of Earth, because then we're begging the question of a sphere Earth and things falling around it in a sky vacuum, and that's all cushy, right? Excellent. Bosh that out.
Doesn't this
Don't ask us. We were just passengers taking a ride, right?
And-
Don't ask us.
Yeah,
They
I
were
remember
both-
that one.
They were both
I got a
passengers
question.
taking a ride and simultaneously navigating using the stars that they both could and could not see.
Exactly. Doesn't sound very commanding for somebody who's on the greatest mission in human history, huh?
I think they were left in a very awkward position. You know, there's a reason why they look like someone just took a shit in their cornflakes when they're going for the public press conference after the fact. And it's because they're lying at that point. Now, prior to that, if you see them doing tests, especially Armstrong, man, he was well into it, keen. And I honestly believe that they thought they were going to the moon. And at some point, they were told, sorry, lads, what we're going to do is the old switcheroo. We're going to send off this half-scale rocket, right? And we're going to film it from a distance. You'll be back at home. So, yeah, we're going to pre-film it. We'll broadcast it on this screen. We'll get the press to film it. And we'll get the screen to be a third-generation image. So it's not the original. It's a recording of the original played through a television screen, filmed with a video camera, broadcast onto a projection screen, and then filmed by the TV. And that's what they'll get. And no one will know the difference.
Don't forget Nixon making a phone call that locked it in.
Meanwhile, we'll hide you in a basement and portray you guys as heroes to the entire world.
And Nixon used a landline, Neil.
Yeah, Nixon locked it in with that phone call.
Someone sat in that press conference with a pen and paper and went, more enthusiasm. And then they've gone into a training. It's gone into sort of NASA propaganda training. And when the guys who are now doing the propaganda, you know, the younger crowd, whenever anything happens that's purely CGI and represented with some ones and zeros going up some employee screen, whenever anything is supposed to happen and the narrator says, and now something has happened, they all go, woohoo, jump in the air and show totally the opposite end of the scale to, you know, Neil and Buzz. At that press conference, it's completely the reverse end of the scale now.
So what you're saying is the people who never claim to go to the moon are bored, disenchanted, and the people who are on Earth and never gone to the moon, woo-wee, did you see that?
Exactly.
I was thinking of trying to get some people together to fake going to the second law of thermodynamics violation to portray the Earth as flat. So when the Globers try to debunk us, they're actually debunking NASA too by proxy.
I see. I think they've pretty much pumped enough money into that endeavor.
Which brings me to a question I was going to ask John a minute ago on the previous subject. So, John, the surveyors, they know they're measuring on a plane. So this is a good time for you to chime in as to how you look at this, because they know what they're looking at and measuring, and yet they hold a belief.
Yeah. All we have is measurements of it flat. And then there was a belief that the dip angle you could draw an orthographic view was to a geometric position you could measure. You know, that was the belief. But with the black swan and, you know, fine, say refraction to it, all you want. But you're no longer measuring a dip angle to a geometric position at that point. And you're admitting it when you say refraction.
And what is a dip angle, John? What's an angle?
Like if you drop a plumb line and then you draw a 90-degree out from your eye line, there's an apparent difference between that 90-degree and the horizon.
Would that be a perpendicular?
Yeah, between the perpendicular from your eye and that plumb, there appears to be a difference.
And that dip angle makes the third line. So you need a triangle, 3 straight lines.
Yeah, it's the Pythagorean theorem is based on having 3 straight lines to make a triangle.
Can you get an angle with one of those lines being curved?
I need a citation that triangles are 3 straight lines.
Hold on. One of them isn't in what he's just described. So you drop your plumb, right? that takes you to the centre of the presupposed spherical Earth. Then you take your line from a high altitude. So in Al-Biruni's description, to clear that problem, he goes up to the top of a mountain and then measures his dip angle as described by John to the tangent point. That's Earth curve edge horizon, right? And then he can derive with the trig what the R value would be.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that measurement comes from a presupposed globe radius at the center. No one's taking a measurement of a presupposition from the center of anything. The actual measurement was from a mountain.
No, correct. He's going to minus that off at the end. So he's going to minus off whatever his height is. But that when you were, the point that I interjected was because you're saying, well, where's he going to get the third line from for his triangle? Well, one will go from the centre of the presupposed spherical Earth to the tangent point. One will go up through the mountain to his original plumb line that he's going to presuppose is dropped to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, including the height of the mountain. But then when he's looking down from the mountain to the tangent point formerly known as Earth curve, that's one straight line. And then from the tangent point to the centre, that's 2. And then from the centre to the top of the mountain is 3. So he's acquired a triangle to do the trick to get the R.
No, my question wasn't that. My question was, they are using a triangle. To have a triangle, it requires 3 straight lines. And then they take that. So my thing is, what is a triangle? And then they take that and say, well, we can do that if you allow us to make one of them go to the center of something we can't prove. Well, yeah, because that's the only place on a circle that you draw on a 2-dimensional piece of paper, right? And then you can say, here's a circle, it's 360, and here's the center, and from here to any point on that circle is the radius. And
I've
for
got you
Earth,
now.
Dave,
I see your point. What you're saying is, even though he's measuring or claiming to do the trig by way of dropping a plumb, drawing an imaginary 90 degrees, measuring the difference between that and the horizon, all of that assumes there is an acquirable R value in the first place. So when you say he's assuming R, well, he's assuming he can get it, right? That's your point.
correct.
That's why I said it was a belief. That was the belief that I held.
That you
Well,
could
what's
get
the
R.
difference?
Yeah, that rounds out 10th question to John perfectly. Can you repeat that, John?
That was the belief I held. That I could acquire R through measurement. I thought I could.
Yeah. The belief, if you're a sphere believer, is that you can measure your sphere. Not only that, you've already had it measured. Here's the maths for it. Well, okay. So how do we know it's been measured and it is capable of measurement? Well, we'll compare it to photos. Well, when you do that, you're taking out all aspects of perspective, put it in an orthographic view, having the targets not change their size as they move into the distance, and claiming there's a physical reified sphere edge horizon based on an R value acquired by doing this dip angle measurement. Well, if you can't do the dip angle measurement to get the R, to get the maths, to make the claims when comparing to pictures and excluding perspective, then you've got no argument. You need to see the physical geometry and be able to measure it to make the claim that it's measurable. It isn't.
Yeah,
That's not a measurable sphere.
Right. You're not measuring a hologram when you do a dip angle measurement if you believe you live on a sphere.
Can you measure geometry without geometry?
No, you can't calculate geometry without a geometric measurement.
I mean, can you measure a rainbow? I mean,
you can. It doesn't mean it's there, though.
But a rainbow's more tangible. The rainbow's more tangible, believe it or not, than Earth curve. And I quote Rumpus. The geometric horizon, and I paraphrase in brackets, that's Earth curve, only exists in the maths. Now, a rainbow, you can at least clap eyes on it like the sun and go, there it is, there's a rainbow. Can you see it? Yeah, I see it. You see it? Yeah. Can we get to it? No. Is it tangible? No. But there it is, before your very eyes. Where's Earth curve? Well, it only exists in the maths.
Well, we measure it flat. Yeah, the only thing we have is the measurements of flat.
I mean, that's
That's
true,
why I
Nathan.
bug out when
But
people say things like,
that,
go ahead, no, my bad.
that's true. But my main point is that you can't measure a rainbow in the same sense that you can't measure light, because they're saying we're not seeing anything physical. We're just seeing the aberration of it. So,
But the claim is you can. That's the point, Eli. The claim is you can see it, measure it as a sphere with sphere parameters. Well, as soon as they say you can't measure it, well, it's not a sphere you're not measuring. You haven't got the geometry. You can't make that geometric claim. And that claim is Earth curve.
yeah, that's the main point. You're right.
Nathan, I got a few slides in Master B to round off this point. If you can go there, please. Start with the celestial horizon with the airplane image of the Earth.
Hold on a sec. I just want to say one more thing. When they say refraction, they just want to get past that. You know, like they don't want to talk about it anymore. They'll say refraction just to block it out of their mind, but they'll never go back to the measurement after they say refraction.
Yeah, that's why it's fun to rub it in their faces.
That's why they're saying refraction, because they have no measurement.
That's why it's fun to rub it in their faces now. So, yeah, you definitely claim it. Here it is. Here's you personally claiming it in the case of some of them.
Well, yeah, they would rather argue about refraction for 10 hours than address what their claim of refraction does to their previous claim.
While rubbing it in their face, you're not respecting authority.
Okay, 10th, I've got your celestial horizon.
Perfect.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so what you see here in the image is the presupposed sphere that we live on. You see at the equator, your horizontal line. You see on the surface, your horizontal line. And if you're in an airplane, the same horizontal line. Now, in an airplane, they use a bubble sextant. It's like a spirit level in the sextant, and they level it when they take their reading. On the surface of the Earth, they use a regular sextant. And the presupposition is right there staring at you. Now, what is this picture telling you? That those lines coming in to create the angle with the horizontal lines, that's the sunlight. If the sunlight hits the Earth in parallel lines, then you'll have the same angle for all three of these. Go to the next picture, please. Is the sunlight coming in parallel or divergent? Self-explanatory here. Sunlight destroys the globe model. Go to the next picture, please. As you can see here, this is my own drawing of how a sextant works. Now, a sextant works, as you can see here, with a triangle. You have Earth level. You have your sailboat. I've shown 3 here. And when the navigator pulls out his instrument, he sights the sun, brings it to the horizon, or should I say from the horizon, they go up. They need a baseline. The baseline is 0. The sextant has a knob, it says 0. So that plane that you're on is one of the 3 lines. As you can see, the sun is over somewhere on the Earth in this image that I'm showing. And that would be called the GP, geographical position, where it's the highest point over the Earth there. This is where it's directly overhead. And then you're in a sailboat, these angles away, as you can see, they're labeled. Then you go to the nautical almanac and say, well, if the sun is over there directly and I'm shooting it at this angle, and here comes your triangle, 3 straight lines, how many degrees? And then they convert it into miles, nautical miles, and then you know where you are in relationship to that. Next picture, please. It's called the circle of equal altitude. That yellow straight line coming down is the sun directly over that position on the Earth. You just don't know where you are on the circle when you shoot it and it says 50 degrees. But it's got to be flat under you, 0, to get an angle. So wherever it is, it has to be a plane that you're shooting it from. Now, if you want to know exactly where you're at, you can wait until the sun moves a little bit, maybe over you in the sky for a couple of hours or an hour, and then shoot it again. Or you can take another star, or if the moon's out that day, go to the last slide. As you can see here, this is 3 circles done. Now, where are you? Well, on the first circle, you're somewhere on the circle. You do the second sighting, the 2 circles intersect at 2 points. Well, you're at one of those points. Well, if you do a third, you know exactly where you are in relationship to the GP, the geographical position of, say, that star, that sun, that moon. Now, each one of those circles represents distances. So if I'm on one side of the circle and I'm shooting 50 degrees, the guy on the other side is shooting 50 degrees. If that says to me 3,000 miles, I'm 3,000 miles from where the sun is directly overhead on that place on the earth, but I'm 6,000 miles away from the other guy shooting from the other side. It all has to be flat, or the sextant would not work. Sextant does work, therefore that we don't live on a globe. That's it.
Perfect. True to form, we've got proven liar Rumpus, defender of the globe. Don't know why you've come back, Rumpus. Don't know why we'd entertain you. You're a proven liar, claiming you did refract the horizon at the Isle of Man, only to call me a wanker when I asked you to give me the show number when your lie wasn't demonstrated. What are you even doing here? You're a proven liar now. You've got no credibility anymore.
I use the refracted conditions all the time, you tosser.
You're a liar. I just get lost. So I've got hundreds of hours of Rumpus drawing a tangent and claiming Earth curve geometry. Now he says, I use the refracted value all the time. Now last time he was here, it was pointed out that when he refracted the targets in respect to the horizon, making them a slightly looming non-standard refraction high in a holographic projection of a lighthouse from behind the reified sphere edge horizon. We knew what they were claiming because they drew a tangent to it, called it Earth curve, and claimed it was proven by those discussions. Now Rumpus is a liar and says, I always refracted everything. No, he didn't. He drew tangents to the horizon. So he didn't. Or it would have been a bent line and invalidated his geometry when he was doing it. Now he's lying. That's what this comes down to. The flat Earth debate comes down to former claims made by globeheads being lied about to a live audience. I don't want Rumpus here anymore. He's a proven liar.
You must think we haven't paid attention to him in the past, 5 years. I don't know what's wrong with that guy.
Or you don't record every show.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Told me I had a fuzzy memory.
There's not a whole, over 1,000 episodes with this guy in it. Are you kidding me?
It's a liar. That's what it boils down to now. And you've got the paradox of needing geometry that would be a tangent to the Earth curve horizon you claimed was blocking the Isle of Man, and we debunk it. You've got to then say, well, I always had a refracted non-geometric horizon that I couldn't have done my maths I was claiming with. Well, no, you didn't. That's a lie. And that's what they'll have to do from now on, lie. Like Rumpus. I'm not going to entertain liars here. Overt liars is at that. No, get lost. Liar. Hey, Sleepy Warrior, how you doing?
All the colours of the rainbow.
The tangible rainbow that Neil can get to.
No, it's a figment of your imagination, isn't it? It's an optical phenomenon. Can't really go there in a rocket.
I said earlier, it's more tangible than Earth curve, which only exists in the maths. Even though we were claimed to be shown it.
You know that guy that likes to call himself Professor Phil Bell, that we all just call Phil. He was trying to get me to calculate something with respect to the egg in the relative density test. And I said to him, the minute you start engaging maths, because the egg accelerates, which he does accept, the moment you start engaging maths, you start calculating for a force because an accelerating mass is observed. And we all know what force he's going to be calculating for. But the moment he starts applying that mathematics in the context of physics, that's where it starts going wrong. I said to him, I said, I'm not interested in making any mathematical calculations for you. I'm happy with manipulating the presumed cause and proving the cause of the effect and stopping at that point. I don't need to go any further. Manipulation is better than calculation. And he didn't like it.
Oh, you don't like science, then, huh?
I told him he can stick to his physics. He also said, when I said about science being qualitative rather than quantitative, he come back with, yeah, there are qualitative guys in science. We leave that to the biologists in Building 7. And I was like, oh, right. I said, so the biologists are like the true scientists then? I said, like, be like the biologists. I said, don't be like the physicists who only ever calculate stuff. We want to see the manipulation of the presumed cause, not the calculation of the effect. He didn't like that either.
It almost sounded like he said, do we leave that to the real scientists then? We're just supposed to go with our bullshit.
That is what he said.
That's what it sounded like to me.
That is what he said.
Well, if he...
Oh, it was John. Sorry, John. Go ahead.
If he can drag you into the mathematical, then he can, like, that's almost like pulling you into his imagination at that point.
Yeah, because if you see an accelerated mass, you've got a force, right? So let's calculate that force. And at the end of it, you're well done. You just calculated gravity. Well done. You're an intelligent boy. Shakes, ruffles your hair and walks out the room. You've just totally been duped.
Yeah, there's no way you're going to fall for that.
And here you go. You can pass your exams if you do it properly in a formal environment. But I'm a physicist, he says. Yeah, dickhead.
With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you, first and foremost, to both G Plus and Discord panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming streams, however, stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on a programming stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
At the sky, I want to say, oh, this is what this is in the sky, you know.
Well, most of physics is translating the physical world into calculations. That, in essence, is what physics really is.
What?
Science
Physics deals
is the experiment part.
Physics deals with the physical.
No, that's science.
Yeah, physics is science. Specifically, natural science. That's what physics is.
I'd say that physics is more about calculating everything and turning everything into a mathematical equation.
Yeah, that's maths.
But aren't you talking about physicists?
That's theoretical physics.
Didn't Rumpus say science is the study of numbers and shit?
Hold on, Adam, can you just repeat yourself, please?
What Anthony's talking about is theoretical physics, which is, by its definition, has to be mathematical because it's theoretical. You're no longer, like when you're dealing with the stars and that, you're not able to deal with the physical anymore. Hence, it's reloaded theoretical physics. But physics encompasses all of the physical, chemistry, and some biology, and will use science in its discipline.
Yeah, well, the problem is it's abused, isn't it? Because what they can calculate theoretically in theoretical physics becomes a synonym and an equal point or an equivalent science, and it's the conflation of the two that's the problem. They're not the same.
It's an oxymoron.
Correct.
Theoretically physical. It's either physical or isn't. It's an oxymoron. Studying the presumed physics of the stars, right? The presumed physical nature of them. Well, are they? We don't know that. So it's theoretical, all right? Does that make it physical? Well, no. It's the mathematical version of how we describe what we see of the lights in the sky, if they were physical. Well, are they? Well, we say they are. Why? Well, because of our theoretical physics. Meaning physical.
I know this
Question I'm
cool
asking people
theoretical
is
physicist.
is space-time physical?
No, space-time is mathematical.
Purely mathematical.
That's theoretical
Well,
physics.
how can something mathematical do anything?
Doesn't. That's the point.
That's why I say I'm not interested in calculating the effect. I want to stick with manipulating the cause. They're on the opposite side of the equal sign.
There was this cool theoretical physicist who said one day, nobody that I know of in my field uses the scientific method. It's leaps of logic. It's seat of the pants. It's guesswork. That doesn't sound very legit.
What about that astrophysicist that took his calculator out, made a couple of calculations, and he calculated the effect of the Earth's rotation on the kicked field goal in between the whoever it was that was playing the game of American football
that he was able to watch on television, right? Yeah, yeah,
yeah. The doublespeak's unbelievable.
Well, that would be Earth-based Coriolis, right?
There's a magic speed.
I think I got that.
I haven't asked in a while. Hey, any Globers in there? Got anything on the magic speed?
I got it.
I want to know, man.
Hold on, chocolate.
I
Go on,
got
John.
it. The magic speed is the speed at which the moon travels around to like a baseball bat hit the asteroids like a ball a bat does a ball, so that the impact is always circular.
Sorry, that would imply that it's not in what they call tidal locking. Tidally locked with Earth. We always see the one face. That would imply that it's spinning like a baseball for the... I don't know how you'd mathematically calculate the input trajectory to always be at 90 degrees based on its spinning, but that's what you're saying. But it's not.
No, the moon would be like the bat.
The bat? What? No. You can hit a bat at any angle. That's why the ball can sometimes go off flying in the air. If you're playing baseball and you watch a kid play and he hits it at the top edge angle, it'll go off flying up into the air, right? At the
Unless
inverse
you
of
hit
whatever
it
it
at that
hit
magic
it
spot.
at, across that curved surface. So no, that does. You're just making this stuff up, John. That was poor. Normally your standards are much higher than that.
Wait, no, it's got a sweet spot, right? Everybody's got a sweet spot, so that's got to be it, right? Right?
No,
And the magic
good,
speed.
actually.
Well, I'll call you all when I get to the moon.
Can't get to the moon. It's a light in the sky. It's not a physical rock in a sky vacuum you can travel to, nor is it contained within a presupposition of a firmament
Wait a second.
container.
We can't say it's a light in the sky either if we can't get there, so we don't know what it is.
It is demonstrably a light in the sky. I can say that. There it is.
I can agree with
A
that.
light in the sky.
Until we could get there and see what it is.
What's light, Neil?
It's a massless particle.
It's a wave.
It sounds a lot like a level curve, that, doesn't it? Straight curve, level curve.
Massless particle.
Yeah.
What's mass?
We see something up there. There's something up there.
Mass is a concept.
Good answer.
Neil, you have a problem calling the moon? You have a problem calling the moon a light?
No,
it's definitely,
but
it's
it could
definitely
be
like a light.
something else too.
I go outside in my backyard when there's a full moon. I can literally read a book by the light and how bright that is. And when it's not there, it's extremely dark in my backyard. So yeah.
Even the scripture says it's the lesser light to rule by night, and the greater light to rule by day is the sun. It is a light.
Okay, let me tell you.
Just
Let
the
me
point
tell you
on.
how. I understand what you're saying. Let me tell you how this guy was taking me to it and drove me to go on this little escapade with you. He said, "Yeah, well, you have a light in your house, and that's the light, right? So you could touch that light. Maybe the moon is like that too. Yes, it's a light, but it's also tangible."
Okay.
Nathan.
But there are different ways of light. Neil, there are different ways of light propagation. The problem is we don't know how.
Yeah, right. So that's why
If that guy was a glober, why would he call the moon a light?
No, but he was
To them,
also saying, well,
to
the
them,
moon's a
it's
light,
a.
just like your house, there's a light in your house, but it's something, it's there. You could unscrew the light bulb and
But
hold
that's
it in your hand.
that's just one form of light. Like you're not
Right.
talking about light being reflected through something else. There are many ways in which we can see light. So again, you don't know how that light is propagated.
So we get there.
Get there is under the assumption that you can get there. Oh God, we go around in circles.
Hey, listen, I had to go through
These
it.
damn New Yorkers.
He probably just heard Frank Sinatra singing "Fly Me to the Moon."
Fly me to the moon.
And therefore, my magic bat theory is true.
And therefore, segue from the beginning bit everyone's forgotten about and declare your victory. Excellent. That was
Excellent
much more like
backstop.
it. Much more like it, John.
Up there, John.
I had plenty of practice, like 3 years of it.
Well, hold on. They're saying that in other words, when the ball actually hits the bat, the bat is not actually hitting the ball.
What John did was
hitting atoms and stuff in between.
What John just tried to do is quite interesting because at about the time everyone was drawing tangent point horizons to the Isle of Man, Anthony Riley had only just made his introductions to me after telling me I was using my mic wrong, 10th man. And he basically took me to one side and said, look, you're in charge of this show. And here's an example where Hank Hill makes a killer point about the inverse square law and the stars. And then 3 or 4 other people obfuscate the point. It gets lost in the weeds. He leaves. And then his opponent, a period of time later, declares his victory, whilst also simultaneously making a declaration that effectively lost him the argument. But he let that in whilst declaring his victory. Now, Anthony, he didn't edit it, but he got all the timestamps ready. He made a full-on presentation to me, appealed to me as the channel owner. If you want something done, that's how you do it, by the way. So, anyway, he sat me down, he took me through his argument, he explained what his concerns were, explained what the problem was, showed me an example of the problem, and then said, that's your fault, basically. He didn't say it in those terms, but he was like, you're in charge, that's your fault. And you need to do something about that. And as a direct result of that conversation, the direction of the show drastically changed. And that was as a direct result of, I can't remember, I think it was Paper Explanator and Hank Hill were the two people in question. But what was done was just done by John.
Thank you.
No, I'm not. Yeah. When I say much better standard, I mean much better example of a globe fundy that will rumpus a point to get it away from his losing argument. Disclaim why he would have lost had he not be declaring victory in that particular moment, which is what happened.
Who's Hank Hill in the story? Is he the baller? Or?
Hank Hill's the flat earther, and Paper Explanator is the globe head. Hank Hill makes a point about not getting the distance to the stars, and his arguing point was about the inverse square law. The person then had lots of fundy muting and obfuscation from his partners in crime, only to, I think it was like 50 minutes later, I'm not even kidding, say, oh, by the way, that point that I would have lost if I'd have mentioned the fact that the inverse square law destroyed my argument, I actually won that argument because, and then remade his claim in the first instance.
Yeah. And there was another really good example with Brandon Toy on GeoStreamer's channel, again with Rumpus. Brandon was in the middle of arguing about the Etzvoss effect, and GeoStreber had presented a graph, and it was a 4-axis graph in the 4 quadrants: top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. And Brandon spots that this is generated by a computer. This is not real world data, and he asks, "Where's the origin of the data from?" And GeoStreber says it's from the model. And he was like, and he was literally just about to say, "So this is not real world data. This is reification fallacy, right?" And Rumpus spotted that that's what was going to come next. So basically, Brandon was about to win his point. Rumpus spotted it, then committed a tactical foul by rumpusing so that the point didn't get made. Therefore, basically, he didn't win his point because Rumpus made enough noise, and GeoStreber kicked him out. Now, Brandon at the time didn't realize that Rumpus was rumpusing to make sure the point didn't get won. Brandon just saw GeoStreber kicking him out and thought, "Oh, he's a nice guy." He was deliberately kicking him out because he was being an idiot. Fair play to GeoStreber. But the bigger picture was Rumpus had just distracted enough to create enough noise so that the point then got lost, and Brandon didn't get the victory he was just about to take. So Rumpus took a tactical foul, got kicked. Brandon didn't get the victory he deserved, that he correctly identified. And I went back to him afterwards and I said, "Listen, go back and listen to what's just happened there." I said, "This is what's just happened. He's done you." I said, "In future, make sure that doesn't happen again." I said, "Because he's done you." Anyway, he went back, he listened to it, and he was like,
the
right.
prediction, Anthony saying, it's not that it's Mystic Meg, it had actually happened before. So, did you say it was GeoStreber?
Yeah.
Yeah, GeoStreber had been pummeled on that exact point. It's the Etzvoss effect, correct?
Yes.
Betty had him over a barrel on it and spanked his ass. So Rumpus knew where that was going to go when it was Brandon. So it was much further down the line, but that argument had been pointed out as a reification fallacy by Betty to GeoStreber. So when it was happening again, as Anthony puts it, there's a tactical foul. In other words, Rumpus causes enough disruption for him to have to be told to shut up, threaten to kick him out. That'll took a couple of minutes, by which time Brandon's not going to go, right, back on track again. So this is a reification then. It's not measured from anything in the real world. You're deriving it from your presuppositional model. Therefore, it's a reification fallacy. That didn't happen. And that's the reason for the tactical foul.
When was this?
3
About
years ago.
3 years ago. When
Yeah, we know better now, right?
We do know better now, yeah. But
the
point Nathan's making is there are active tactics at play that we didn't realize initially, because they do rumpus points. That's why they can't come in. They claim that they're on strike, or Nathan's this or Nathan's that or whatever. The reality is it's tactical because they come in and lose. That's the reason why they don't come in.
He tried that today. I was doing a little short piece on the sextant and how it works and how it cannot work. And he came in chat and he wanted to come in to distract from that. Would you agree with that, Nathan?
Of course. Well, I'm justified
So why don't you
now.
give him a chance?
I'm justified now to just say, you're a proven liar. Got you on record. His first words were, "I always refracted everything. Everything would include the horizon he drew a straight line to. Therefore, liar. Proven liar." Well, just say that when he comes. You're a proven liar. What are you doing here? You've got no credibility anymore. You were already a nameless, faceless troll. Now you're a nameless, faceless troll with no credibility who lies. Bye-bye, Rumpus. Nice knowing you, you liar.
Well, if you can confuse the point as the dominant perspective, it's just as good as a win.
Exactly. That's why. Well, it's even better if you take it from somebody that's about to win at your cost, because obviously GeoStreber didn't know what was coming next. Rumpus did. He took it away from Brandon Toy unfairly, and GeoStreber didn't realize. Now they did Brandon, but I was watching it and I was like, "You clever little weasel! That's exactly what you've just done."
Yeah, the tactical foul works because if the majority of the audience are already on the side of the globe, and something that could come along that could sway that viewpoint is eradicated, then the consensus view rules at the end of the discussion. Now, they know that. They've got consensus on their side. So they don't need to put in any airs and graces. They can be as foul and as derogatory as they choose. None of it will ever be criticised, because the consensus view is that we're the idiots that deserve ridicule, therefore it's perfectly valid and justified. You know, all of that sort of stuff. Meanwhile, our standard, the standard we are held to, is infinitely higher than theirs.
Well, I like to think we hold ourselves to that standard too.
Well, we do, and that's why people fall out with each other on this topic, because I'll say, hang on a sec, Bob, gravimeters don't do what you say they're doing. And then all of a sudden it starts an internal political war, and the point basically isn't allowed to turn into fruition. It becomes a hot potato, and people are a little bit more cautious about claiming gravimeters do prove that there's a downward bias. We don't hear that conversation anymore, right? No one's talking about the downward bias. So that point's been extinguished.
What bias?
Exactly. But if we wouldn't have done it, then that conversation would still be taking place.
Yeah, but then Rumpus runs around and says, like today, he'll say Nathan didn't even give him a chance.
Chance for what? I mean, I gave Rumpus an opportunity to prove his lie. I said, come back with the show number where you said the horizon was refracted. Now, he came back, called me a wanker. Following time, he came back, same thing, same conversation, and he lied multiple times. Tried to dodge and duck and weave, and at one point even said, I always refracted the lighthouse. Because he's stumbling around his lie. Now, I've demonstrated that. Rumpus is a liar. So what are you going to do? Bleat about not getting an opportunity after you've lost all credibility, having lied about your claims, and tried to dodge and duck and weave around your lie, to the point where you're stuttering over the thing you're lying about. I always refracted the lighthouse. Yeah, you didn't refract the horizon, you drew a tangent to it. That's demonstrably factually accurate. And now you've got to lie about it because you haven't got it anymore. That's the facts of the situation. You're a proven liar, Rumpus. Bleat all you like, liar.
Yeah, but the ballers don't even believe him anymore. So he's on an island all by himself.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's got the bright
Was
spot.
that a little feeling towards Rumpus there, Chocolate? Aw.
Yeah, if I'm going to get my my Kleenex from real quick.
Hey, listen, he could come and be honest if he wants to be.
You think so?
Quite humiliating.
He could also have a nice conversation like a human being if he wanted to be, but he hasn't done that in years.
No, he don't even say hello. He just comes on calling names.
Right. Well, now I've got a name for him. Well, it's more of a label. Liar.
See, that's why I call him a greasy lawyer, guys. That's what he is, man.
Yeah. A bit more difficult to greasy lawyer out your way around your own lies, though, eh, Rumpus? When you've got to claim that you refracted everything, when you drew a tangent to Earth curve to claim it blocked the Isle of Man. Yeah, that refracted line that you don't need but must show us, in total contradiction of your lies. Well, that's unfair to anybody watching to subject them to a known liar. I think you'll all agree.
Oopsie.
Yeah, I was happy you handled it the way you did today. That way, he knows how he can come back on. Come back on. Don't lie. Admit to that first. And maybe there's chance for him to change, but we'll see.
How do you humiliate somebody with no humility?
And you see, the thing is, I don't take that attitude. In the same way as people who expect newbies to the subject to appeal to a flat earther for answers they formerly got from NASA. It's like, well, you're a cuck. You're dependent on the teat of government, or now our teat of information. And it's pathetic, insisting on having this information handed out to you. Well, once you discover that someone like NASA is a liar, the people on the screen telling you they're in space are liars, you turn your back on them. You don't say, look, NASA, I'll start trusting you if you can just admit you lied. Because what do you think a liar's going to do? I'm sorry, I lied. If it comes to the point where they're forced to admit it, yeah, they'll admit it. Does that change a damn thing? Does it stop them lying to you again? More fool you if you entertain those people. Turn your back on them. Don't engage.
Yeah, but there was an astronaut that came to the church I attend, and everybody believes him. He was in a rocket and he went to the moon. because he stood at a pulpit and declared it.
Yeah, people can lie, Neil, and do. Astronauts are one of the few categories of people I can put hand on heart and say they are liars.
You don't even have to go that far, Neil. I mean, just any Sunday or whenever, just turn on one of those fancy Ferrari driving televangelists. They stand at the pulpit and lie.
No, they're not Ferrari drivers.
I just tell people to
prosperity doctor.
People just need to take back their own authority, man. Like, your authority was taken away the day, people started instilling in your head that we live on a ball. And you were just supposed to believe that with no validation. You know what I'm saying? And that's a problem. So all I tell people is just take back your own freaking authority. That's it.
Which leads me to believe that maybe they're putting these guys in simulations and they think they're going to outer space and the moon.
Don't be naive.
How could you stand at a pulpit and lie? I mean, no fear of God?
Don't put down to this deception when it's in front of green screens and on trapeze. There is no way on earth they don't know that they're on a high wire. They absolutely know.
Oh, yeah, hello.
I think Arwen on mute. Bloody hell. Arwen.
Yeah.
Run away with your mic wide open, why don't you?
We all do it. It's not a big crime.
You mean you do it
frequently?
frequently?
I was opening up a bag the other day. I didn't even know because I changed over. I got yelled at. It was an accident.
Yes, Nathan. Like me, I've done it before, once or twice. Yes, it's
once or twice. Yes, indeed.
Only once or twice, right, Anthony?
People lie all the time. You don't have to try to figure out why they lie. Once you know they lie, that's it. You know they can't be trusted.
No, but here's part of the deception. He's an older guy. He's got his wife next to him. He's standing at the pulpit at Times Square Church, and everybody believes him.
Well, tell me something
you
new,
couldn't tell
Neil.
anybody anything after that.
Yeah.
Tell me something new, Neil. Hang on, Neil. Tell me something new. It don't matter if it's at the pub, in a courtroom, or a pulpit. People lie.
Yep, that's correct.
What's a really sad thing is if you get a woman that's been raped violently at knife point in a dark alleyway at night time and she tells a story, most people won't believe that, but they will believe they went the fucking moon.
Well, thank you for that.
What about the ones claiming they are and are not?
My body, my choice.
As you've brought it up now, and I'll tick that box in my YouTube declaration of what this video contains. I noticed that, do you remember I gave a mention to that umbrella guy the other day when I was saying, oh, you must share this video. My appeal to action is more worthy than this guy's appeal to action when he talks about, just to segue, the domestic violence claimed by Johnny Depp and Amber Heard against each other in a long, ongoing British and American court case, the British one having concluded now, in Amber Heard's favour against Johnny Depp. Now, that particular case, which was actually a libel case against The Sun, based on a headline about Johnny Depp being a wife-beater, well, in that instance, the person who was claiming the abuse, Amber Heard, was absolutely believed. So your comparison goes to hell in that example. Now, I mention it because I noticed today one of the recommended videos was from a channel called Little Tug, where he was complaining that his channel's getting mass flagged by supporters of Amber Heard because he's anti-Amber Heard. So he's pro Johnny Depp in this particular courtroom battle, the most recent of which is going to be another defamation case brought in the first instance by Johnny Depp against Amber Heard for $50 million, no less, and then a counter suit for $100 million from Amber Heard against Johnny Depp. But if you talk about this subject, now, I don't know if what I'm talking about, I don't think any of this is going to breach YouTube regulations to discuss this public information, but when they do it, they self-censor. You know, Amber Heard becomes that nameless party. Johnny Depp becomes JD. You know, domestic violence becomes DV. They've got all of these abbreviations that they slip into the video in their vain hope that that's going to stop them getting their videos taken down or demonetized. Or in this case, mass flagged and then community guideline strike being implemented so the guy can't live stream. And, you know, he was making a fairly healthy living from it, from what I'm understanding from his latest channel called Little Tug. But it's just interesting that you make that segue when the current situation in that regard is completely contrary to what you've used as a juxtaposition, i.e. the abused woman won't get her story listened to. Well, in that case,
Can I just
it was.
ask, why did you feel the need to trample all over my equivalents?
I don't know.
Did it make you feel masculine?
No, Johnny Depp, hold on. After Donnie Brasco, something happens to actors after they play a wise guy role. They really think they're wise guys. And he probably did knock on.
Oh, God. Everything's got a link back to the Bronx, hasn't it?
All I know.
What happens if you play the James Bond role? Does that make you think you're like invincible?
No,
You are
only
James
wise guy
Bond.
roles.
Only wise guy
Only
role.
wise
Okay.
guy roles.
Well, a
They get
wise
confused.
guy,
He's not even
a
a
wise
method
guy
actor.
in the future will refer to JD as not the rum.
Not even a method actor. It's not like he would be living as a wise guy when he was playing that role.
No, but
I don't
something
know.
happens
I
to them.
reckon
It's
Johnny
proven.
Depp's, I reckon Johnny Depp's walked around his apartment in a pirate suit a few times.
I'm sure he has. He plays a pirate, or he did.
No,
Yeah,
only
yeah.
wise guy movies. Look at James Caan. He hangs out with gangsters since The Godfather.
Okay.
So why is the rum gone?
Well, therefore, Johnny Depp does. What the hell, Neil?
I can scientifically prove it.
Yeah, that's almost science. If you say science after that Just So story, it makes it valid scientifically with experiments, doesn't it, Neil?
I don't know. Something happens in the brain. I'm telling
Yeah,
you.
that's right. Science, man. Something happens in the brain. Science.
Something
chemicals.
happens in the brain, and they think they're wise guys.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
calculate the
All makes
effect and give
perfect
it a
sense.
name and make it sound psychological, like the quantum annihilation effect or something like that. And then it's all of a sudden it does become science.
Yeah, jazz it up a bit, Neil.
That's where I messed up with my magic speed bat theory. I should have said science at the end of that. I'll work on it.
Exactly. But listen, I'm going to get a list of actors together that, after playing a wise guy role or a good fellow role, they want a little baddie there.
I know one. John Connor at Terminator. He ended up being a little bit nuts, didn't he?
Oh, I thought you were about to say he ended up being chased by a robot that came back from the future to kill his mother. But with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!